What's up guys, Coach Az here, and today I've got a follow along jab workout for you. Now the way this works is it's 10 rounds, each round focusing on a different element or different way of throwing the jab. You can adjust this workout to however you want it to fit into your training. I'm doing it as just 30 seconds on each one of the rounds, just for an example, and you guys can see what it's about. But if you wanted to, you could extend these all the way up to 2-minute rounds and do a full jab workout, or you could just incorporate this into your training. I'm doing it on a freestanding bag, but you'll be able to do this with a partner on some focus mitts, a hanging bag, or even working it as a Dutch drill or in sparring. So let's get straight into it with these 10 rounds. I'm gonna break them down as we go through and you guys can follow along the way. And let me preface this video by saying I am not a boxer, I am a kickboxer. So there is a slight difference in the way that I hold my hands, position my guards. So if you're coming from a pure boxing sweet science point of view, I'm sure you're going to see some issues with the technique. Feel free to comment them down in below. I don't mind a bit of constructive feedback as much as anyone else. Let's go with round number 1. As always, before you start any training, ensure that you've done a proper warm-up, you've stretched a little bit, and you've got your body primed and ready in order to perform. Round number 1, we're just working a classic speed jab. I'm trying to keep my back arm up by my chin and I'm just shooting that lead arm off nice and quickly. We're not really focused on developing loads of power with this technique. We're just focused on throwing a nice fast jab to the head and pulling it straight back to the guard. Biggest beginner mistake you'll see with a jab is they throw it and then they drop their hand down before retrieving it back up. Make sure your jab is going straight to the target and straight back to your guard each time. All right, round number 2. Round number 2, we're working on the power jab. So for the power jab, I'm stepping in with my lead foot so that I'm putting my body weight in behind the technique. This is an amazing technique. It generates an awful lot of power and it's really underutilized, especially in kickboxing and MMA. The step also covers a little bit of additional distance, so you might be able to start a little further back from your target in order to strike it. Make sure that, similar to the speed jab, that you're recovering nice and sharp and nice and quickly. That foot, the way I like to teach it, is like you're testing the water of a bath. You're going to dip your toe in and step it straight back out nice and quickly. Round number 3, we're going with the body jab. Now, sometimes I might throw this as a speed jab, sometimes I might step in with the foot and throw it as a power jab. But the real focus here is on dropping the level, and instead of hitting up to the head as we classically would, we're now coming into that mid-drift. Real good technique to work, especially if you've got this technique down, is to look up and punch down, so your opponent doesn't know exactly where you're aiming for or targeting. Round number 4, I'm working on a double jab, in particular a sliding double jab, so I'm covering distance on both techniques. Now where I'm working on a freestanding bag that doesn't move, that doesn't shift, I'm throwing the first one from a distance and it's basically not going to hit anything. The second one will bring me into range in order to strike. If you've got a hanging bag or a focus mitt that can travel and move as you hit, then you can hit with both of these techniques as you drive forward. The idea here is to cover a little bit of distance with our jab, to step in on an opponent that's either moving backwards or holding their ground. Round 5, we're going to keep with that concept of the double jab, but now we're going to fake the first one high to then hit down to the body. I call this the bunk bed technique, going top bunk, bottom bunk. You're shooting that jab up high to draw their guard and attention up, to then sneak underneath and hit them with that body shot. Fake high, hit low. Number 6, we're going to effectively flip that concept on its head. So we're going to fake low to come up high. This is really underutilized. I see people fake high and hit low all the time. Very rarely will I see people drop level in order to draw a guard down to then pop right back up. So really start mixing this into your sparring. I think you'll have a lot of success with finding that jab onto your opponent's face. The jab is of course one of the most useful and effective punches you can throw, and one of its utilities is to set up other techniques. So for the next few rounds we're going to be setting things up off of the jab, starting with the all important classic, the 1-2. So now I'm throwing my jab to set up my cross. My jab is doing a couple of things when it's setting up a cross. One, it's setting and adjusting the distance. So I'm using it to measure my opponent. If I can hit them with my jab, I know I can reach them with my cross. Number 2, it's trying to blindside them. I'm putting that jab in their face to try and cover their vision or move their guard in a way that's going to create the opening for me to come through with that power shot with the rear hand. Number 8, we're gonna set up that lead hook off the jab. Again, you can think of this in like double jab territory where I'm using the first technique to get me in and then I'm shooting in again to throw that hook. Keep in mind, the hook, unless you're throwing it quite wide, is a short range technique. So even after you land that jab, you're probably gonna have to shift your body in closer in order to land the hook. Sometimes I'm throwing this to the head, but I'm also mixing in a body shot as it's a very similar movement and setup in order to work that shot. As I mentioned at the start, I am a kickboxer, so I'd be remiss if I didn't include a round that worked to kick. We're gonna go jab to back leg roundhouse kick. Once again, using that jab mostly as a measuring tool and as a distraction to create the opening for me to work that leg in. I'm throwing that jab out and using it to set my stance and position to then powerfully rotate my hips round through to the kick. I can throw that kick to the leg, to the body, or to the head, depending on what I wanted to work on specifically on that day. And finally, round number 10, we're just doing some general practice. I always like to finish with a round that kind of revises everything we've been working on. So you'll see me throwing a little bit of everything: speed, power, doubling up, using it to set up other techniques, but the whole focus and intention around the round, and of course this whole workout, is working on throwing our jab. Guys, I hope you found this video helpful and it's giving you some ideas of how you can train your jab. If it has, I'd really appreciate if you jab that like button, hit subscribe. We've got new videos coming out every week. Let me know what you want to see on the next one in the comments below, and I will see you on the next one.